In the quiet suburbs of Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971, a boy was born who would one day stare into the stars, not to admire them, but to reach them. His name was Elon Musk, and from his earliest years, it was clear he wasn't like other children. While most boys his age played outside, kicking footballs and chasing dreams made of dust, Elon stayed indoors. He read, and read, and read some more. Not just comic books or fairy tales, but encyclopedias. Entire volumes. He read The Lord of the Rings, Isaac Asimov, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, not once, but over and over again. By the time he was 10, Elon had consumed more books than most adults would in their lifetime. But he didn't just absorb information. He imagined worlds, engineered solutions, built ideas in his mind, and silently mapped out the future. At school, however, Elon was an outsider. He was shy, awkward, and quiet. He didn't fit in. In fact, he was relentlessly bullied. One day, a group of boys pushed him down a flight of stairs, and Elon was left in hospital with a broken nose and badly bruised body. 4 days, he couldn't get out of bed. But even then, he refused to give up. His pain became his fuel. He once said, "When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor." That wasn't just a quote. It was how he lived, even as a child. Elon's parents divorced when he was still young. He chose to live with his father, Elon Musk, a man he would later describe as a terrible human being. Their relationship was complex, and Elon rarely speaks of it. But behind the silence lies trauma, hardship, and a childhood marked by emotional pain that would shape his resilience. His mother, May Musk, was a Canadian-born model and dietitian. She became his anchor, a woman of elegance, strength, and quiet wisdom. May raised her children to be tough, to think for themselves, and to dream without limits. In interviews, Elon would later say that watching his mother work 3 jobs while raising 3 kids gave him a sense of purpose and discipline that stayed with him forever. As Elon grew older, so did his curiosity for technology. At just 12 years old, he taught himself computer programming and built a simple space-themed video game called Blaster. He sold the source code for $500. That was his first taste of invention and income. But he wasn't interested in money. He was interested in making things better. By the time he turned 17, Elon made a bold, life-changing decision. He would leave South Africa. He didn't want to be part of the apartheid system. More importantly, he wanted freedom, the kind that only America, the land of opportunity and invention, seemed to offer. But America was not easy to reach. He first moved to Canada in 1989, using his mother's Canadian citizenship. With a backpack and a few $100s, Elon landed in a foreign land with no connections, no wealth, and no safety net. He worked on farms, cleaned boilers, and did any odd job he could find to survive. Yet, even in these modest beginnings, he never lost sight of his dream. 2 years later, he transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he pursued physics and economics. He was brilliant, but not in the academic sense. Elon didn't care about grades. He cared about ideas. He once said, "I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad." While his peers partied, Elon read about renewable energy, space colonization, and artificial intelligence. He started talking to anyone who would listen about how humanity needed to become a multiplanetary species. Most people laughed. Some called him crazy. But Elon didn't stop. During university, he rented a 10-bedroom house and turned it into a nightclub on weekends to pay his rent. It was clever, resourceful, and showed something else. Elon was willing to hustle. He graduated with 2 degrees, but more importantly, he graduated with a vision. He once told a friend, "The internet, sustainable energy, and making life multiplanetary. That's where the future is." And he meant it. After university, Elon moved to Silicon Valley. It was the mid-1990s, and the internet was just beginning to change the world. Elon and his brother Kimball Musk co-founded a company called Zip2, an online city guide that helped newspapers provide content like maps, directions, and business listings. It was way ahead of its time. They were so broke, they couldn't afford an apartment. Elon slept on the floor in the office, showered at the YMCA, and coded late into the night. He worked 80 to 100 hours a week, every week. For Elon, hard work wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. In 1999, Zip2 was bought by Compaq for $307 million. Elon's share? $22 million. At 27 years old, Elon Musk was a millionaire. But instead of celebrating, he started building again. This time, he wanted to change how money moved. He co-founded X.com, an online banking platform. Something radical and almost unthinkable at the time. People weren't ready to trust the internet with their money, but Elon believed they would. Soon, X.com merged with another startup led by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin. Together, they created PayPal. Elon's vision clashed with the company's leadership, and he was eventually pushed out as CEO. It was a bitter experience. But when eBay bought PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Elon walked away with $180 million. He could have retired, lived on an island, bought mansions and luxury cars. Instead, he risked it all. He took that $180 million and did what no sane investor would do. He bet everything on 3 high-risk industries: space, energy, and transportation. He put $100 million into a space company, SpaceX. He put $70 million into an electric car company, Tesla. He put $10 million into solar energy, SolarCity. And then, the world laughed again. An internet guy wants to build rockets. Elon Musk will never make electric cars mainstream. Tesla is a toy for millionaires. At first, it seemed they were right. SpaceX's first 3 launches failed. Rockets exploded. Millions were lost. In 2008, with 1 rocket left, Elon faced total collapse. Tesla, meanwhile, was bleeding money, and the global financial crisis had scared off investors. Elon was nearly broke. He had to borrow money for rent. His marriage was crumbling. The media ridiculed him. Even friends told him to give up. But he didn't. On September 28, 2008, Falcon 1, SpaceX's 4th rocket, successfully reached orbit. It was a miracle. Soon after, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. Elon cried. Not for success, but because he had barely held on. Tesla received last-minute funding just before bankruptcy. He poured his final dollars into keeping it alive. And slowly, everything began to change. SpaceX became the first private company to send a spacecraft to the ISS. It developed reusable rockets, something the world had never seen. Tesla, against all odds, began producing electric cars that people wanted. First the Roadster, then the Model S. Then came the Model X, the Model 3, and later, the Model Y. Despite constant setbacks, delays, and financial pressure, Elon refused to compromise. He slept on Tesla's factory floor. He personally inspected vehicles. He pushed his teams harder than they had ever worked before. Was he difficult? Yes. Demanding? Absolutely. But visionary? Without question. Today, Tesla is the world's most valuable car company. SpaceX is preparing missions to Mars. And Elon Musk, once the awkward boy in Pretoria, is one of the richest people in the world. But perhaps what makes Elon's story so powerful is not his wealth, but his relentless belief in the impossible. He dreams not of fame, but of progress. He once said, "I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact." His building Starlink to provide global internet. His working on Neuralink to bridge the brain and AI. His digging tunnels beneath cities with the Boring Company to solve traffic. And his doing it not because it's easy, but because it's needed. Elon Musk lives by a simple rule. If the future isn't exciting, we're doing something wrong. From the boy who was bullied, to the man who risked it all, to the visionary who is trying to colonize Mars. Elon Musk's story is one of boldness, sacrifice, failure, and fearlessness. A story that proves one truth. If you dream big, work hard, and never give up, you might just change the world. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because sometimes, all it takes is one story to light a fire in someone's future.